My dears, if we are meeting for the first time, my name is Amy Jones. I am a progress coach, and I help people figure out what goals they should be spending their time and money on. Time and money, sometimes, sometimes money. I actually meant energy. What is it that you would find most fulfilling, most satisfying, were you to go after it? And regardless of whatever goal you would go after, there is a way of making progress toward that goal that I want to talk about today. And I'm referring to it as making progress with art. Art standing for three things that I'm going to talk about. And this came about for me this week, actually. I found that certain dots connected for me when I was um, working through a book called The Power of Receiving by Amanda Owen. And those of you who are in our Facebook group that is Mapping Wellness are familiar with The Power of Receiving because it is our book clubbish selection. And book clubbish is something I call a weekly series that we do where each week we kind of work our way through a bit of the book. And I create a live Facebook video within that Facebook group, just for those in the Facebook group that allow us a place to be able to share comments or stories or revelations. And then the audio of those videos is shared on our SoundCloud page. So there's two ways that you can participate in Book Clubbish if that is something that is interesting to you. Either by joining our Mapping Wellness Facebook group, which I'll include the link to here when I'm done with this live video, and also a link to our SoundCloud page where you can listen to the chats and really get a deeper understanding of what receiving has to do with making progress. And when I was going through this past week, the particular bit, and it was about the importance of receptivity and being able to be receptive to the help that is available to you, including the help that you can't see currently, that you don't know about, that is coming, that you may not even be able to explain. That's where we get into kind of the spiritual woo-woo realm. Regardless of what your beliefs are, there are certain things that we may chalk up to serendipity or providence or fate. And, the bottom line is we don't know all of the things. But there are a few things that came together for me that I wanted to share with you. So when I talk about making progress as art, the first thing that A stands for is action. And action is something that we talk about a lot, how to take next right steps and do the things that you need to do to be able to move yourself forward. So I talk a lot about that in other videos and blog posts and so forth. But today, what I want to talk about is the R and really spend some time there. The R stands for receptivity. And in The Power of Receiving, the author Amanda Owen does a really great job talking about receptive states and ways of being. And when you are in those ways of being, when you are receptive, then you are in a position to be able to receive help, to receive inspiration, ideas, the benefit of the mystical forces of the universe, which we can't really explain. We have a lot of ideas about, but there are things that are above our pay grade. And so we can still tap into those forces and that support without knowing exactly what that is. So I want to share a few of the receptive states to just give you an idea. Because what clicked for me and what I really got this week is that when I am not in these receptive states, I am not connected to all of that support. I am not in a place where I can be manifesting partnerships or opportunities, people who could come into my life that could make a big difference. I'm cut off from all of those amazing things because I'm in action and I am in what Amanda Owen describes as active states. There's nothing wrong with active states, but her point is that when you can balance it with being in receptive states, then the magic starts to happen. Okay? So I just want to share some of these and kind of contrast them so you can get an idea of what it is to be in a receptive state and that you can start practicing with this yourself. So one of them is allowing. When you are allowing things to be what they are instead of denying them and denying that which you don't have control over, but you may think that you do. When you're in denial, you are not allowing, you are not letting people be who they are, situations to unfold in their own due time, and you are pushing against reality. So to connect yourself to that receptive state, I want you to experiment with allowing things and people and situations to be what they are so that you can stay in your lane, in your space, in your life, and do your most good from that point. Okay? So when you just stay focused on what you have control over and what you can actually impact, when you get into an active state, you can be much more successful. But practice being in a receptive state of allowing. Next thing is to just be. The opposite of being is doing. So instead of just doing, I also want you to practice just being who you are without trying, without auditioning, without doing. The next state to practice is opening. Of course, the opposite of opening is closing, is shutting down, is contracting. When you are open to ideas, when you are willing, when you are I just lost my train of thought, people. This is something that happens when we're working through progress. Um, but when you are open, you have an ability to see things that you aren't able to see when you're closed. So that is another one to practice. Next one is contemplating. Contemplating is a similar type of awareness, of curiosity, um, a beginner's mind, some people call it, but just noticing, which is different than if you are ignoring or you're not thinking and you're just plowing through and trying to be active. Another is listening instead of talking, right? It becomes sometimes more challenging just to listen and to just sit back rather than focused on talking. And another is welcoming versus rejecting. Just welcoming new ideas, new people, new situations, new resources, instead of rejecting and shutting them down, being open to them. And the last one I wanted to acknowledge is this letting go. That when you are practicing letting go instead of holding on, when you're not trying to control things and control other people, then you are in that receptive state. Then you are able to access all of the wisdom and the opportunities and the resources that you can't even see right now, but are available to you if you are willing to practice. So the T in the ART, making progress is art, is tenacity. And everything that I'm describing in terms of being receptive is something that you get to practice. I get to practice. I am actively practicing right now. Appreciate the wordplay there because there's the A, which is action, which is the active state of being. Then there's R, which is for receptivity and the receptive state of being. And then tenacity, which speaks to both, that making progress is about continuing to experiment and try and adventure, and most importantly, not give up. So, my dears, would love for you to just play with these ideas. Get curious about the receptive state and like, what would that look like? You know, for me last week, it was stopping work early. Even though I had a whole bunch of things to do, still things, actions to take on my to-do list, I took time off on a Thursday afternoon and I went to the beach and I just hung out and I flipped through a magazine on the beach, which felt very indulgent to a degree. But then I also remembered I'm practicing being receptive. I'm practicing being receptive when I just go take my dog for a walk, especially down by the water, or take her to the park. When I'm just going outside and noticing and hanging out and feeling the sun on my skin. These are all ways of choosing to be receptive. And for you, if you're like me and have a clever brain that will nag on you and say that you're not doing anything, you're just being lazy, you're not working hard, you're not making the most of your time, whatever, you can just tell that clever brain to shove it because you are practicing receiving and you are creating a space for you to have things go easier and move faster, more exponentially, because you're not just pushing and grinding on your own. You're accessing a power that is greater than you. And you do that by practicing receiving. All right, dears, go forth and practice and let me know how it goes. I will see you next time.